Hello everybody, it's Brian Chabring, the Music Man, coming at you live with some more Midi stuff. We're going to take a look at Susie Snowflake as another example of how to use UltiMuse and just have a little bit of fun. Something old, classic from the 50s, and we're just going to have some fun. So, let's get to it, folks. Okay, so to start, well, as you can see, I already got my CoCo running, up and going. See it up in the upper left-hand corner there. And you need the sheet music. Oh, sheet music, you say? Oh, yeah, you need some sheet music. Or if you got a good brain and you know sheet music inside out, use UltiMuse. But anyway, to see the sheet music, here it is. It's a very simple piece. There's a couple different versions of it that's a little bit more intricate, but we're just going to start something easy. Something easy, something joyful, and kind of classic. So, as you can see, we are going to happily do Susie Snowflake. This is set up with just two staffs, the treble and a clef staff. So you've got your main staff here, and you've got 3 pages. You only got like 37 measures. 36 measures actually, with no repeats or anything. So it's very simple, very easily laid out, and that then simple to mouse in. And one thing that you need to know is that you need to know what the time signature is. Well, it's simple 4/4 time. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Enough said about that. Now, one thing I did notice. You take a look right up in here and compare it to here. If you count the measures, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. And you got that going through all the measures. But in the very first one, you only got 3. Personal opinion, kind of sloppy notation in that. But some places take some liberties and just for the intro, and they drop one of that just to give you that dramatic pause for bringing in. At this point here, you can do 2 things. Actually, 3 things, but 2 things really. One, you can add an additional rest here before everything, or you could dot this last note, or these last 2 notes here, so that it fills out the measure. By putting a dot on here, it makes it half again larger, and if you got 2/8, that gives you another 1/4, so it's going to hit and then just slightly longer, so it'll be, instead of going boom, 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 it goes boom, 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 and then it continues on regular 4/4 time. So, just wanted to kind of point that out a little bit here for those who do understand a little bit more about music and such. So, this is the sheet music. I will include this in the download on YouTube or Facebook. We'll see which one. And so that you can get this, or if you already have a copy of it, which is possible, hey, more power to you in that. So you go out there. So the first thing that you need to do then, you gotta get the CoCo up and running with UltiMuse. So here we go. I just have a quick batch file that sets everything up and all that. So here we go. UltiMuse is going. Everything's set. And you'll be able to hear me. You just won't be able to see me because we're going to focus on the computer. So let's get things going here. Now, we will start everything off by making a new score. Would you like the prompts? Of course you do. Okay, well, okay, so let's go take a look at the sheet music. And you can see exactly what's going on here. And let's just get this a little bit, just a little bit more centered. There we go. So we've got everything there, and now we can take a look at exactly what's going on. Well, for the first staff, that's a treble. So we want to click 1, and it shows, if you take a look, you go through here, looks like it's just one note all the way through. And then, oh, what's this here? Down over here, starting at the 22nd measure, or actually 21st measure. I'm wrong again, 19th measure. Start having 2 notes per. So what would probably be a good idea is, let's just have 2 notes set up all the way through to make it things a little bit easier. A little bit of planning it always goes a long way. So we want 2 parts for the treble. The next one is a bass clef. You can tell it looks like a kind of an ear. So we want to select 2, and we also want to do 2 parts. And that's all that we have. So I'll just go ahead. Is this setup okay? All right, we've got staff 1, staff 2, 2 parts each. Good, that looks good. So yes. And take a look at the time signature. It's 4/4. It's already set up 4/4 here. And there's no sharps, and there's no flats at the very beginning of the music. So it's a natural. So basically this is all ready to go. So go ahead and click on ready. Common 4/4 time, answer yes. And away we go. Now the file has not been saved yet. And it's always a good idea to put in some quick information about the file so that when you open it up, you know exactly what song it is. So if you press F for files, you get the option here for title editor. You can press T or just click on title editor, and away you go. So you just press the line that you want to edit and press enter. And then when you're all done, just press enter again without entering anything on a line, and it'll save it. So we'll just start with Susie Snowflake. And we're just going to just do it quick and simple. So we've got that. Now, let's just save the file. So save the file. Now I started playing around with this a little bit, but my video kind of got messed up, so I'm starting all over again. So just name it whatever you want. I'm calling it Susie Snowflake. And it's saving the file. And there it goes. So you now have your file saved. All right, so we now have the file created and saved. We've got basic information in the title. Next step really should be setting up your instruments and your Midi channels and such like that. One of the things that I've done is that I have actually taken and created some files for some of the different MIDI units that I use in that. So I can actually take and read in a file. So I can go ahead and read in a file, and right there. And it's got a lot of the different setups already for basic instruments and stuff, and you can always add on to it in that. And since this piece is mostly for piano, we're going to start with that and such. And you know, there's no real percussion in this, but I want to make sure that if we do add it, any percussion, that we've got that set up. So I'm setting this up for my Yamaha TG33. It's not a general MIDI unit, which means that the patches are not the same from like in general MIDI. All the patches are different. It's also what's known as octo banking, which means that I've got 8 instruments in 8 banks. And so, or more than that maybe, but UltiMuse can take care of that, no problem. If you notice, it looks like this is a 0. It's actually an O, meaning indicating for an octal, and then patch number 68. That's how I have it set up for this instrument, the flute, on my TG33. If you're going to go with general MIDI, it'll be standard patches and such. But this is just going to be to show you what really needs to be set up in this. So I have the instrument set up that I'm going to use here, and I'm going to start with the grand piano. And that's going to be patch or instrument number 4. And to do that, well, let's first start here. And okay, looks like we've got, yep, right now we've got everything on channel 1, which for right now will be perfectly fine and adequate. In the next set on this, I will show you how to add on additional voices and channels, and set up the channels for doing some in-depth modifications to this piece of music to make it sound more orchestral and that. But that's going to be at a future session. So let's now take a look at this here. We have that, and we can just simply go and click here. And now you can add an instrument on this line here. So we're going to go I for instrument, or click on instrument, and we want to select the grand piano. So we have that, and we want to do the same thing on all of these. Now these are obviously going to be all on the same channel of channel 1. So now we have that set up. Now if you take a look at the sheet music right up over here, you can see that it has a couple letters here, MF. That indicates an initial volume setting. And you do the same thing with that. You can set up this, and they're saying start it off with MP. So we can do that if we wanted to, and do the same thing all the way through. Oh, I'm sorry. That's supposed to be MF. Too soft. My pardon. Yes, I'm not perfect. I'm just mulling things through. So let's take this and that. And sometimes, depending upon your particular unit that you're using, sometimes some MIDI units, you have to kind of tweak them a little bit further to actually get the correct levels in that. So sometimes you might have to play with the volume settings and stuff a little bit. But at this point here, realistically, you could start mousing in. Now, a couple shortcuts here. If you press 1, 2, 3, 4, and some other numbers, so like if I type it pressing 1, if you take a look, and let me first go and click here. If you press 2, you get a half note. If you press 1, it's a whole note. A 4, you get a quarter note. 8 is an eighth note. Nope, don't want to do that. So, but you know, that's a speed way of that you can do that. I can't remember. Let's see, 2, 3. That puts you into triplets on the quarter. Oh, we don't want. Okay, we don't want thirds. Okay, so now we got all of our instruments and our channels set up initially. We can always change it going forward. Let's just go ahead and press F for file, S for save, save the file in this, so that this way, if something happens, we can go back and get the correct one. So let's go to our notes. I want to go notes. Here we go. And now if we take a look on the treble clef, the first measure shows nothing but rests. So we want to start over here. We need to go to half note. And let's just start with this one here. And just go through, and we can just simply real quick press 4, go to quarter, and we can just simply keep going through here, and we'll just do the first couple measures here. You know, like I said, this is a very simple piece. And away we go. Now, you probably saw that you saw like the little symbols pop up in that. And I'm going to click on this again, and you can see if I go to the right, it become, you know, if I slide to the right, the cursor a little bit while I'm holding down the left button, it goes sharp. If I go to the left, it becomes flat, and then when you center it out, it disappears for a natural note in that. So that's how you get that. So we see that, and I think there's our couple sharps and flats further along in the piece here. So we got the first 3 on the treble clef. Now let's take a look at the other. Now, if you take a look right over here, like I was saying before, this is 4/4 time, which means it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, like you see over here. You know, 1 beat to each count. Well, you only see 3 here. This is a shortcut way of indicating that there's kind of like a little bit of a pause before you actually start in that. So you have a couple ways that you can address this. One, you can just simply leave a rest in place here at the very beginning and then continue on here. Or Another thing you can do is that you could make the notes dotted, two of the notes dotted, and what it would do is that it's like a quarter note adds, when you dot it, it means it takes half that value, which is an eighth note, and add that amount of time to it, so that it goes a quarter note, a quarter plus eighth note, a little bit longer duration, and you do that again, and then that takes up the entire 4 count measure. So I think that's what I'm going to try here. So on the bass clef here, we're on quarter note. Bring that here. This is very simple, and we do now just press period, and you notice right down here, you got that little dot here now. So when we turn these into the notes and position them, you notice all of a sudden you got 1/4 and 1/8 rest. So if we do this again, place this in the correct spot, boom, problem solved. Now it looks just almost like the original piece. It's just that these two notes are a little bit longer in duration in that. So it's just one way to maybe give it a little bit more of a flair. It depends upon what kind of music that you're trying to put in anyway. So we go back and just do a quick click, left click on here, just to turn it back to a regular quarter. And so let's take a look here. Under the word here, we just continue on to the second measure. And away we go. There's a rest, then another one, and down. And it goes again. No, very simple melody. And we got the first 3 measures in place. So what we could do if we wanted to, we could just to test to see how it sounds. So let's do that here. I'm going to pause for a second and then be right back. All right, and here we go. Let's try pressing P for play and hear what it sounds like. And of course that's it. So we know that is sounding the way it's supposed to be so far. So let's just kind of go through and just start adding everything in here, and I will be right back, and you should see this a little bit more completed and then we can just go through some more of the details at this point here. That way you're not seeing me just put everything in and that, because it's pretty much the same as what you've seen so far. So I'll be right back and I'll show you the completed score. All right, everybody, I'm back, and I went through the entire 3 sheets here and got everything moused in to UltiMuse. And as you can see here, as I go through all the different measures here in UltiMuse, the total of 37 measures. This is where it ends up here. These last pieces can just simply be ignored at this point in time. And it seems to work out pretty good. So let me go back to the first measure. You can do that by going G for go to, then 1, which is the first measure, and boom, you can jump right back there. In that, a couple of things that you'll probably also notice based on the other is that I changed this up over here on the beginning here. Before it had the dotted borders here and that, and it starting here. It really did not sound correct in that it sounded a little bit draggy. So I put it back to normal and just simply went with my what should have been the original and premise and put the first note as a rest and then boom boom boom. I also got the speed up. I set the velocity, excuse me, tempo um to be a little bit faster so that it would sound more in place with what it is. So, without further ado, let's kind of take a listen to see what it really sounds like now. Now remember, this is just piano. And in the next set of videos, after I do this, I will show how to take a piece like this here and massage it to become more of an orchestral type of piece. So let's take a listen here. And folks, there is Susie Snowflake, simplified version in that, and it sounds pretty good. I don't know if there was any sour notes in there or not. It doesn't sound like at one point there might have been, but I think that was that extra natural in there that just for a little bit more of an accent of a sound in that. But not going to worry about that. So there's Susie Snowflake. Like I said, I will have the document for it there so that you can go ahead and put it in yourself. And then after a while, I will probably put this piece of music out there onto the Color Computer Archive in that. So, what else can we do? Well, let me say hello, folks, and let me say goodbye and thanks for hanging in there. I will see you next time when we go through this piece in a little bit more detail on how to expand how things sound and make it sound more like an orchestral piece. And that I'm pretty sure some of you already have a good idea of how to do that, but for the fun, let's have more fun with it. Until next time, folks, take care.